Good evening, Matthew here at Profitero. So, just thought I'd put together a quick list of what I thought the first 100 days in office for Trump and what that would look like. So, his key policy priorities that might come to play are just a couple ideas that I put together, and let's start at the top here. So, first, I think he's going to focus on economic stimulus and tax cuts. That's something that's been pretty strongly in the campaign material, and what he's been talking about is probably a renewing and extending, or maybe even an increase in the tax cuts that he previously had back in the Tax Cuts and Job Act of 2017. And so I would expect that to be one of his first priorities. I don't think it would be much. I think it'd probably be 2 or 3%. But what do you think? Do you think he's going to push hard for that? Is he going to make them federally mandated? Is he going to try to pass them into law? It'd be curious to see what happens now that he controls the Senate and the House as well. There's also the possibility of new economic stimulus plan aimed at boosting post-pandemic growth and supporting manufacturing and energy sectors. This has been a pretty common theme that he's gone back to, is supporting energy and supporting manufacturing. The next topic is energy independence and industry support. Increased focus on domestic energy production, including support for fossil fuels and coal industries. I even heard mention on the trail in his campaigning that there's going to be a fast track process to start nuclear power as well. And so I'm wondering if that's something that you've heard as well. And of course, he's going to very, very heavily move towards fossil fuel, opening up new lands for drilling, opening up different areas, increasing the speed of permitting. Those things are all probably going to happen. In fact, probably as well, building coal plants. And the potential rollbacks of environmental regulations to support traditional energy resources, aiming at reducing energy costs and strengthening U.S. energy independence. And recently, Vladimir Putin of Russia just stated that he's willing to buy American oil in American dollars. And also, Europe has agreed to buy American natural gas, NLG, as well. And so the Trump effect seems to be very strong and moving very quickly towards resolving some very tenuous foreign diplomatic relations. Of course, nobody's not heard about his immigration policies and the border security. The Biden-Harris administration essentially had an open border, and some people estimate 10 to 20 million illegal immigrants are in the country now. And so I expect Trump to reinstate or expand a stricter set of immigration policies, including bolstering border security and revisiting the asylum rules. I've understood that he said he's going to pursue deportation for all of these illegal immigrants, but my understanding is that he's going to focus on violent criminals first, which is great. That would definitely help improve overall security, and I think create a lot more peace and prosperity here in the U.S. He's also going to renew an emphasis on constructing and enhancing border barriers and allocating resources for Border Patrol agencies. And that's one thing I've heard him consistently say, is that he's going to increase a hiring bonus for border security, and also increase overall funding for border security. And there's going to be a very strong push to hire hundreds, if not 1,000, Border Patrol agents. That would be an interesting development, and that would be a very expensive as well. Trade and tariff adjustments, possible renegotiation of trade agreements or introduction of tariffs to encourage domestic manufacturing or reduce dependence on foreign imports. And that's been a standard theme as well throughout his policies here lately. He intends to use tariffs defensively to retain manufacturing jobs here in the U.S., and that did work in his first term. And I do expect that he would also use these tariffs to open up other markets and give us more ability to import our goods into those markets. And whereas Europe and Asia haven't really allowed us the opportunity to bring, for example, Ford or GMC vehicles to, that would potentially be a lifesaver for both those companies. He's also going to focus on addressing trade imbalances, especially with China, potentially leading to a tougher stance on intellectual property and tariffs. And my understanding is President Xi has already communicated that he's willing to be a fair trade partner with the U.S. and has made public statements welcoming Trump back to office in support of President Trump. With Kennedy on his platform, I think that there is going to be a focus on healthcare reform. Now, this may take the shape of an overhaul of the Affordable Care Act, but his focus would be on reducing federal healthcare costs, I imagine, and providing alternative health coverage options, with the possible initiatives to reduce prescription drug prices and address Medicare and Medicaid spending. And Kennedy has been very vocal and super critical of the NIH, CDC, the FDA. And as it happens, the FDA just announced a product recall for, I think it's phenyldrine. And it's a drug that's been in a lot of oral decongestants for over 40 or 50 years, but it's quite clear the entire time the industry's known that that is completely ineffective and had no health support at all. It's not pseudoephedrine, it's my understanding it's phenodrine, and so slightly different chemical, but at least by name anyway. But interesting that they would do a product recall so quickly after Trump taking office, or Trump winning the election, I should say. Next item would be deregulation across industries, and I think he'll take aggressive moves to reduce regulations on businesses, especially in sectors like finance, technology, energy, and manufacturing. He's going to make it easier to start businesses, open up permitting, fast track permitting. He wants to make a distinct impression this time around with expediting, the growth in the economy. And I think his emphasis will be, like last time, reducing red tape to streamline business operations, potentially boosting investment opportunities. And the Dow and the S&P 500 really enjoyed this news of Trump's win. And if you have been watching the Dow, it's been in the S&P 500, both have been going up quite a bit, including Bitcoin, since his winning the election. There'll be a law and order focus. He'll have a reinforcement of law and order policies, including increased funding for police and public safety initiatives, possible expansion of federal law enforcement resources in response to crime rates and public safety concerns. And I think there are going to be probably some blue cities that are eager to work with President Trump on this. And now there may be, of course, blue cities that don't want to work on this, but hopefully there is the opportunity to, help Americans, and all Americans give him a chance to really do some good on the promises that he's made. One thing that I just heard today, and maybe you have heard this too, is that he's talked about a reciprocity for the Second Amendment, meaning that if you had a permit to carry a weapon in one state, you would automatically have reciprocity with all other states. And so if you had a conceal and carry in Minnesota, your conceal and carry would be valid throughout the U.S. That would be an interesting change in the gun laws. And next would be the U.S. military and defense strategy. With the abysmal Afghanistan withdrawal, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars were wasted in equipment that was left behind. And I think that Trump will increase defense spending with a focus on modernizing military technology and enhancing national security capabilities, replenishing and those stockpiles that have been already majorly depleted with our support of the Ukraine war and also the support of Israel. And there's going to be a potential repositioning of U.S. military forces internationally with a focus on countering global threats, especially if this Trump effect keeps going and we see peace break out between Ukraine and Russia, which it sounds like both leaders, Putin and Vladimir Putin and Zelensky are both eager to pursue peace. And also in Israel, Mahmoud Abbas has already said he's looking forward to Trump taking office and is asking for Trump to be involved in brokering a peace deal. And I think Netanyahu has probably got a pretty strong supporter in Trump as well. So if these areas go into a peaceful position, then what will happen with military units that are, say, in Syria and in other areas, maybe in the Houthi area? There probably will be a repositioning or realignment as military is redeployed elsewhere or removed from those areas. Finally, I think there will be some developments in the educational policies and school choice. The likely push for an expanded school choice program, including voucher systems and charter school funding. Republicans have consistently asked for charter school funding and for school choice, and it's very likely with the Republican in office as president and the Senate and the House that this will become real and will go through. So that'll be interesting in how that changes education. In fact, Trump has talked about dismantling the federal Department of Education and letting more states have state control, and in fact, taking the union out of the control of what is taught in the educational system and allowing teachers to have more success-based or merit-based teaching curricula. And that would be interesting because Minnesota used to be ranked quite highly in the U.S. For student success, and now it's dropped quite a lot. I think at least 7 points in the last time I looked. In fact, I think there was 23 high schools that had not a single student that passed their competency tests for literacy, mathematics, and so let me know if you know otherwise. But yeah, that would make schools very successful if they were focused more on helping students learn rather than just pushing them through and end up graduating them without competency. That would be great. And then lastly, the possible efforts to reduce federal oversight in education, so shifting more control to states and local entities is what I wanted to end with. So these are just kind of my ideas about what his first 100 days would look like. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Thanks. See you next time.